last episode, we have finished the valance, repaired the frame, and started body work on the back of the cab. And now we are starting the taillight panel. Now it is time to install my piece. And once I get it kind of where I think it goes, and then I will line up my lines. You can kind of see right here, it kind of comes down a little bit right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece here and I'm going to hammer from this little corner out, because everything's fitting pretty nice except for this one corner. So not a big deal. Yeah, you can kind of feel it. Okay. I'll put it on my dolly. I'll set my dolly right here so I can kind of see what I'm doing. Hey, that's fitting a little better. Let's see what I'm working with. See, once you get two, you can kind of control it, move it how you like. Man, look at that. Just to see what we're working with. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but that's great. Lock it in. So now, it's that time. I'm going to sit there and just tack it all in place. So let me get my welder and everything hooked up, and we'll get back and start tacking this thing. It's being such a confined space, I'm going to use my little 6-inch straight edge. I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty happy with it. Now, my first tack, I believe I want right here, because it feels smooth. Okay, so here, there's a little low spot right here. So before I tack this on, I'm gonna go ahead and beat this out right here. Now that now that I have access to it, because once I weld this on, no more access, and I hate to just feel something like that, especially if I'm right here. So here's how I'm going to repair it. Just going to try these, see if I can just squeeze it. It's small. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, I can have a little gap, and then once I shut it. Oh, good. There it is. That's where we were. Go back, feel it. Make sure that's where you want it. Actually, now it's kind of sitting better, so I've got a few options. I'm going to tap weld. Make sure it all looks good. Choose your next point. Try not to get burnt here. Maybe I'll use this to kind of just hold it where I want it. There we go, right there. Hold it. Here, I'm gonna come down just a little bit. Put one here. There you go. Little taps. Meet it halfway. And what I mean by meet it halfway, when this dent was hit so hard right here, it lifted all this. So we beat this down and flattened it out the way we were supposed to, but we did not really touch the panel side, so it was a little bit lifted. So when I say meet it halfway, if we move this from here to here, and then we got to move this side from here to here, or, you know, opposite. So we push up on this side and then push in on this side. So we meet it halfway, and we still stay straight right here, which is all that matters. You know what I'm saying? All that matters. Some of these magnets are stronger than others, because this magnet right here is a no joke. Thank you, Ian, for giving them to me, man. I love these things. See how hard it is to get it off. Holds everything in place perfectly. If this was a dent, then it made a crown which would lift this also. I'm gonna have to use two hands to flatten it out, so I'm just gonna use a little dolly. Sound I was looking for. Sweet sound of success. Just want to pull it out just a hair. So now I've got this as flat as it'll go. And now what I'm going to do is pull my skin out just a hair until it feels flush. Oop, you heard it? Until it feels flush. Go a little more. Beautiful. Let's tap, let her know who's on. Time to move on. Trying to stay in control of what you're doing while you're doing it. So you see, as I was holding this out, I was tacking these and I was holding this so it could cool down. Once it cools down, then I could just, you know, weld it. But here, when I tack this side, I pulled the knife out, and when I pulled the knife out, I saw it sink down. I tried to pull it back up, but now it's stuck, and it won't pull up. And now, when you come this way, you can feel the slip. It's not a lot, but you know, it's not where it needs to be. If I want to stay flush with all this, I'm gonna need to pull that out a little bit. That way, there's not a low spot where there doesn't need to be. So I'm gonna just cut it. That's why we tack it, so we can come back and cut it. 1/32. Remember that. Cutoff wheel. Grab my stand. Now we'll pull it out where it's supposed to be. Hit it again and hold it. And it stayed. So yeah, here we are. Again, let's meet it halfway. Right there. It's right there. Okay, so I'll continue doing that. I'll be checking it. If I need to move it, I'll move it however I need to move it, and make sure it looks good, because the better it looks, the easier it is to grind. And definitely the easier it is to body work. So you definitely don't want to just fill this thing with filler, even though the filler of today is actually great stuff, you know. But you want anything super nice, definitely use filler, or just give up the hours that it's going to take to straighten it all out and have no filler. You know what I mean? That's really the difference, is who's going to pay the hours that it takes to do a job where you need no filler, or, you know, once they see how much that costs, and then they're like, oh wow, let's throw a little putty on there, it's not going to hurt. Which I promise, in today's technology, it has advanced to where it's almost spraying your premium primers as fillers. So something just keep in mind. But it ain't all that bad. Okay, so pretty much you know how the story ends. Weld, let it cool down. Weld, let it cool down. Grind it, hammer and dolly when needed. You know, just hit it from behind, make sure it stays straight. Tap it from underneath. Stay in control the entire time. As long as you're in control, there's no way that you can lose out. So now to the next step. You see, we've repaired these dents. One thing about this truck must have been put together on a Monday, because this body line here does not match this body line here. So the plan of attack is, how are we going to fix this? What are we going to do to repair this? And there's no easy solution, you know. I think what I'm going to end up doing is just cutting this little square out the best I can, slide it up where it needs to go, and then weld, and then I'll have to just make me a little, I don't know, I'll figure that part out, because I don't like doing small pieces, so I might cut it a little bit bigger, so the welds will be a little more separated, and I'll have a little more control, instead of bundled up in a tight spot, and it'll just warp on me as I try to stay in control. So yeah, I'm really thinking, just come right here, pretty close to this line, almost on the line, and I'm going to come way down here, because you see how it hits as I come this way, and it hits as I come this way. They'll have to be cut out quite a bit, moved up, because your line really ends about right here. So we'd have to at least cut out to here, and then, oh no, a little bit lower, because look, I'm still hitting, so right here, good. Alright, now that we know what we're looking at and know what we're going to do, step one, let's knock that primer off. Okay, I'm going to use my square, and basically what I want to do is make sure it all lines up, everything's nice, and then right here it starts to get whack. So right down here where it's still flush, that's where I want to make my mark, and that's where I'll do my bottom cut. This also lets me know that this piece that I put in is nice and straight the way it's supposed to be, so I'm pretty happy with that also. This side I'll do the same way. My tail light's in the way, so I'm going to just slide this down, and as soon as I start to see the gap get bigger, we're just going to say right here. I'm good with it, you're good with it, good. Make the best straight line I can. And I really hate to do it this far back, because my piece that I cut, I'll have to curve it but it doesn't matter. I can curve. And then of course right here, I'll cut it right tight to this line. Well, not right there, but right there. Something like that. Commence to cutting. If you have one of these, reciprocating saw. I love this thing. It's kind of high. Make my own blades because you just have to use what works. Show you how to do it. Say this is a 16th thick and we didn't want a 16th on our stuff. This is how we would do this. Once that's cut, even though I'm showing pretty good control, and then I can bring this in. And now I can have way better control and a way nicer line. Just like that, all the way down. Okay, in the past, you've seen me use like a piece of poster board and use the bottom end because it's super straight, and then come in here and mark. That works too. I do have one of these cheap Dollar General 99-cent, but it works so good. And now I have that line to follow as well as that. Oh, let me make some witness marks just so I know how much it's moved. I'll do one here, and this will give us an idea of how hungover these guys were. So if you buy a car, you always ask, what day was it made? If it's made on a Wednesday or Friday, it's a good car, especially Friday cars. If it's made on a Monday, boo. Most of the time, those are your lemons. Okay, when we cut this front piece out, we only blasted what we could reach. And now that I've cut this piece out, I've exposed more of it. So if you look, there's rust in here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and blast it out because I could reach a whole lot more than I could before. So here it is. See all the brown that's untouched and all the black is touched with sandblast and stuff. So now I'll come back in here, blast all this stuff, and even get in there where I couldn't get before. Need to beat some of this out. When it all feels pretty good, but if I need to, I've got access to it now. Now let's talk about why we cut this out. So we want to match that. So it's going to be about right there. Right there. So there it is. We cut all of that out just so we can raise it up, the little gap there. And since that gap's kind of small, I might just fill it with rod and weld it. I really don't like doing it that way. You know what I mean? I keep that lined up, and then I'll mark it from the back. For that, I'll use my scribe. I've got to clean this out also and get all this clean metal. So I'm not going to film the blasting of it because I don't want sand all over my camera. So when we get back, I'll probably just show you whenever I'm spraying some stuff on it. Okay, so here's the look. We've raised it. I'm going to pull my tape off. I put it here because when I weld, I don't want any of my weld to touch over there. So the reason for removing the tape is to make sure that this line, because once I tack it, like that's it. That's where it goes. According to this, it looks like it can go up a little bit. Almost nothing. Right there. Let's try that. What do y'all think? I love it. Feels more. Yeah. I think it's going to be our gap. So now, try to hold it in its spot. It doesn't move. I'll put my tape here as a guideline and also as a, let me hold this in place. I'm going to make some witness marks just to make sure I put it back in the same spot. Let me make my marks first. That's for sure. Straight line. Let's do one more here. So now knowing that that is going to go there, let me see if I can hold this in place. There's a blue Sharpie. And I'll mark it from behind. All the way. I'm feeling pretty confident with that. Remove the tape. And there's our line. We will stay, we'll probably knock all the line off and just leave that little bit of line right here. We'll leave the line and remove this bottom piece right at the line. As you can see, my lines are lined up. I've trimmed the top off. I'm gonna have to work with this and kind of, luckily I can touch it from the inside and move it where I need. So the key is to keep everything control, you know what I mean, where you have 100% control of the situation. It can get frustrating at times, but once again, we are in control. I'm going to use my MIG welder. Once we get into the new shop, I will use my TIG welder. I'll back and forth it because not everyone has a TIG welder. So I'll definitely go back and forth and that way you can watch from both different views for those who do have a TIG welder and want to do sheet metal work. There it is. I'm going to have to trim here and there, but you know what? Let me move this out the way. And I'm not going to put this piece in yet. Now what I want to do is I don't want to weld onto this. And that's what I meant by the TIG welder. I'll have a little more control where my flame goes compared to the MIG. You have somewhat control, but it can get crazy real fast if you let it. Like all situations, if you let it. Put this in there as far back as it'll go. Double up if you have to. There's nothing wrong with Protect. Especially if it's going to look nicer. Man. The piece that I cut out, I'll just kind of slide it back in here to fill this gap, you know, and go from there. So yeah, should be a pretty simple piece. There we go. That's weird. Yeah, I've been all crazy and I just cut it. I didn't even bend it. So either way, no worries. I think with that being said, I say we start tacking on this thing a little bit. I don't know where I'm going to start. Probably from the back. Yeah. Let's do that. On my MIG welder, I've got it set at 3 on my purge and 30 on my wire feed. So my ground is grounded. There we go. One thing I want y'all to notice is, even though this line is straight, I'm still having to pry it out a little bit so it'll at least be flush with this also, because it was all sunken in if I let it low. So I'm going to have to start welding it here and kind of work this weld at the same time, not mess up my lip. I wish there was an easier way, but there's really not, because you need the entire lip. It's all raised and not just... If it were to start back here, then yeah, I definitely could have cut it and moved it. But since my body line is all the way through, I just have to be able to match here. Which right here feels great, you know? But I've got my knife pried in there. If I let it go, it'll sink in. You look at it sideways, it won't match. And it's got to look good. At any cost, it's got to look good. So now what I'm doing, I'm going to try to hit it without missing it. So I'm going to try. Oops. Try that again. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That was not too bad. Sweet. Another one here. That one's still in, so let me push it out. Ooh, it might have got tight. If it did get tight, oops. No worries. No frustration. I do have my blade right here at hand. My reciprocating tool. And I have just made me a wonderful line. The thickness of this metal, which is, I don't know, pretty thin. I'm going to guess 1/32. So, all right, it stayed up, as we can see. So now that I'm able to push this back,